Courtney Bender and Pamela Klassen mention in their book, After Pluralism, they ask their readers to consider, quote, what comes after pluralism in both temporal and theoretical terms. They ask, what does pluralism look like in practice as a set of tools and projects and political claims? The Aga Khan seems to be aware of this too, because it's one thing to simply champion pluralism, but then, okay, what does that mean on the ground? So in the Aga Khan's vision, there is something known as cosmopolitan ethics, which in philosophical language is a necessary concomitant of pluralism. What is cosmopolitan ethics? Well, firstly, the goal of a cosmopolitan ethic is to balance the universal and the particular in human society. That's what it's for. The central principle of that ethic is quality of life. And in this quote, the Aga Khan says that he has serious doubts about interfaith ecumenical discourse, but he does believe that different religions and non-believers can achieve a consensus on cosmopolitan ethics. Now, what does this ethical system consist of? Firstly, it would consist of certain values that are universal. Some of these values are named here in this speech: passion for justice, equality, human dignity, tolerance, what classical philosophers call human virtue. So there's a virtue ethics component to this vision. And once again, a cosmopolitan ethic cannot simply just be about the freedom to do whatever you want. It has to balance freedom and responsibility. So the third component to cosmopolitan ethics, I've mentioned universal values. At the same time, a cosmopolitan ethics that's only universal turns to become hegemonic, because it imposes the same set of values upon everybody. What the Aga Khan wants is that in addition to the universal values of cosmopolitan ethics, that ethical system, being pluralistic itself, must allow different societies to practice and assess their own quality of life in their own terms. And quality of life, according to the Imamat, does not just mean material well-being, but it refers to the entire social ethical context in which people live. So cosmopolitan ethics as a tangible thing is a combination of universal values as well as the affirmation of every culture's or faith's particular values, as long as, of course, those do not infringe on the shared universal cosmopolitan ethics. And finally then, just like pluralism, the Aga Khan has rooted cosmopolitan ethics in a spiritual conviction. One of those roots is the idea of humility before the divine. One, of course, can practice pluralism at the civic level, which the Aga Khan himself encourages. He thinks pluralism should be manifested in governance, in government institutions. It should be manifested in educational institutions. It should be manifested even at the personal level. But in his own words, the environment can only enable, and it's the human spirit guided and supported by the divine will which must triumph in the end. So the Aga Khan in numerous speeches has quoted this verse of the Quran and has emphasized that according to the Quran, all human beings have been created from a single soul. Therefore, all human beings share at all times a spiritual unity and a common essence of what it means to be human. And that, of course, is the spiritual basis for his understanding of cosmopolitan ethics. So to conclude then, I've talked about the Aga Khan's vision of pluralism, how pluralism is much more than tolerance. It's not just tolerating difference, but it is actively engaging with difference, learning from it. This vision of pluralism is very much rooted in a theology of monorealism, in a personal attitude of humility before the divine, and it is always accompanied, or must be accompanied, by a cosmopolitan ethic rooted in the notion of human beings coming from a single soul. And I'll just leave you with this quote from the Aga Khan, which summarizes this presentation. "The spirit of pluralism is not a pallid religious compromise, it is a sacred religious imperative." Thank you very much.